All right, so we've got this Bengals and Giants game, right? And it's not just another game. Over 2 million Google searches. People were all over this one.
Yeah, definitely not your average Sunday showdown.
It felt like everyone was glued to their screens, and I'm thinking a lot of it, well, it had to be the fantasy football factor, right?
Oh, absolutely. This game was a fantasy gold mine. You've got Burrow, you've got Chase, Barkley, Mixon. I mean, talk about a fantasy owner's dream team.
And that LSU connection, Burrow and Chase, you can't talk about this game without mentioning that.
It's like they were back on the bayou, making magic happen. That 50-yard touchdown, pure poetry in motion.
Seriously, you could see that chemistry. Those two, it's like they've got this whole unspoken language on the field.
Absolutely. But while those highlight plays get all the buzz, let's not forget about Burrow's overall performance. 330 yards, 3 touchdowns. The guy was a machine. The article even uses the word dissected to describe how he picked apart the Giants' defense, and I think that's spot on.
Dissected. That's a good way to put it. He was like a surgeon out there, just picking them apart piece by piece. But even the best surgeons need a good support team, right? And that's where Joe Mixon comes in.
You got it. Mixon might not have had the flashiest numbers, but 95 rushing yards. That's huge for keeping the defense honest.
Yeah, exactly. You can't just focus on the air attack. You got to keep those linebackers guessing. It's all about balance.
100%. A balanced offense makes life so much easier for the quarterback, especially when you're facing a tough defense like the Giants.
Speaking of the Giants, let's talk about Daniel Jones. Bit of a mixed bag for him, right? Some good moments, some head scratchers.
It's funny, the article calls him a polarizing figure, and I think that sums it up perfectly. He had that 1 touchdown pass, which was nice, but then those 2 interceptions, especially that one in the red zone, ouch.
Yeah, those red zone turnovers, those will kill you. You're so close, and then bam, momentum shifter.
Exactly. And you just knew going into this game with Callbarn Barkley in the backfield that the Giants were going to try to establish the run game.
Barkley, he's usually good for a highlight reel play or 2 every game. Did the Bengals just completely shut him down?
They did a pretty good job containing him. 57 rushing yards, that's not bad.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not Barkley at his best.
Yeah, I bet some fantasy owners were sweating that one out. He's usually such a sure thing. So the Bengals defense, they really stepped up in this one, huh? Sounds like a good day for the Bengals, D. Who were some of those guys, really making plays out there?
Well, Jesse Bates III, he was all over the field. 10 tackles, an interception. It was impressive.
Wow, 10 tackles from a safety. That's getting it done.
He was everywhere. And then you've got Logan Wilson right alongside him. 8 tackles, a sack. Talk about a defensive 1-2 punch.
A 1-2 punch, I like that. Those two were everywhere. But hey, even in a loss, the Giants had some bright spots on defense too, right? I mean, you can't shut down a team like the Bengals without some fight.
You're right about that. No easy wins in this league. The article pointed to Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence. Those guys were tough. Williams had 6 tackles and a sack. And Lawrence, man, he was a disruptive force. Remember that play in the second quarter where he just blew through the line and almost sacked Burrow?
Oh, yeah. Burrow had to get rid of that ball quick. Pressure like that can really rattle a quarterback.
No doubt. And in a game like this, where the offenses are putting up points like it's going out of style, you know what else becomes crucial?
What's that?
The kicking game.
Ah, yes. You can't forget about the kickers, those unsung heroes sometimes.
Exactly. And Evan McPherson for the Bengals. He was money. Perfect on field goals, even nailed one from 52 yards out.
52 yards? Those long ones always make me nervous. But seriously, in a tight game, those field goals, they're like gold.
Absolutely. Each kick carries so much weight. And it shows how important it is to have a reliable kicker, someone you can count on when the pressure's on.
For sure, for sure. So we've talked about the big plays, the defensive struggles, the kicking game, but we got to come back to what kicked off this whole deep dive in the first place, those millions of Google searches.
Right. It wasn't just the diehard fans tuning in for this one.
It was fantasy football taking center stage. I mean, think about it. You've got Burrow, Chase, Barkley, Mixon, all fantasy superstars, all in one game. Every touchdown, every yard game, it was like a fantasy roller coaster.
You're telling me.
Yeah.
This game had it all for fantasy owners. The highs, the lows, the nail-biting finishes.
It definitely added another layer of excitement to the whole thing. You're not just watching a game, you're living and dying with every play. It's a whole different ball game, literally. It's wild how fantasy football just sucks you in, right? You're living and dying by every yard, every catch, every fumble. It's like the stakes are even higher.
Oh, 100%. And it makes you realize there's so much more to a game than just the final score.
Yeah.
You've got all these individual stories playing out on the field, all these little battles within the bigger war.
It's like watching a movie, almost. But this Bengals and Giants matchup, I mean, it wasn't just about the fantasy points. This one felt different. What do you think? What made this game stand out?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head earlier. It's those narratives, right? You got the Bengals, this high-powered offense, everyone expecting fireworks.
Right, and then the Giants, they came in with something to prove, trying to silence the doubters.
Exactly. And within that, you've got Daniel Jones still trying to find his groove, battling those inconsistencies. Brongar Barkley facing down that Bengals defense, trying to break free. It's those individual journeys that add another level of drama.
Totally. And we can't forget the coaches. I mean, they're like generals out there, calling the plays, making adjustments on the fly. It's a mental game, too.
Absolutely. And that's what makes football so fascinating. It's not just about who's bigger or faster. It's about who can outsmart, who can outmaneuver, who can adapt.
So next time we're watching a game, and we're glued to our fantasy scores, maybe we take a minute to appreciate all the layers, right? The strategy, the individual stories, all that good stuff.
100%. Because it's those hidden layers that really make this sport so captivating.
Absolutely. Well said. And there you have it, folks. Another deep dive in the books. Until next time, keep your eyes on the game. And remember, it's not always about the final score. It's about the stories unfolding on the field, the battles won and lost, and the moments that leave us speechless.